Ever since we started this gameplay series, the Balkans were identified as the most crucial front in our European theatre. If the Balkans were fixed, the economy would be fixed, the empire would be saved, world hunger would end, peace would prevail. Way back in chapter 8, this is exactly what we did. But there was a minor problem with the plan. It did not work. So, I went in and did it again. I fixed the Balkans. Again. Ladies and gentlemen, lovers of war, traders of great renown, I, the Strategic Indian, bid you welcome to my channel, where our motto is think, practice thinking. If you like the content, please do not forget to like and subscribe. Also, leave a comment, which will greatly help with the almighty YouTube algorithm. In chapter 8, I outlined a far-reaching, all-seeing, ever-correct, and might I add, brilliant plan to fix the Balkans region and secure that front for the empire. The foundation of the plan relied on heavy-handed tactics, such as making it a full military garrison state with no freedom of movement, thought, expression, or immigration by pesky nomadic hordes. Make no mistake, the plan is still the same. We shall continue to be an oppressive foreign power, drawing arbitrary national lines with no forethought on the wishes and aspirations of the ethnic groups left on the wrong side of the thick red lines clumsily drawn by our unpaid interns from our faraway capital of Mediolanum. The plan does not work as rebellions and hordes keep returning and questioning our ever-correct, far-sighted and brilliant plan. No hordes, no matter how forceful their demands, how powerful their armies, or desperate their needs, shall be allowed to pass. This lesson has been taught to the Cadians, Gepids, Marcomanns, Bastarnians, Dacians, Huns, Iazyges, Ostrogoths, Vandals, and Alans. All fell before the might of our legions, some driven from all memory and eliminated, while the rest slunk back beyond the light of the Balkans region to recover in the darkness. We peer through the darkness. We look out for the nefarious plans. At the Balkans, none shall pass. The region shall be fixed, and the empire shall prevail. So, in the previous episode, we had pushed back the Saxons. We had mauled them up pretty badly. So, we are going to cross the Rhine and we are going to press the attack. So, as you can see that they are deciding to stand and fight. But what I will do is go for a night fight, which they do not anticipate. And immediately the force becomes on my side. They're clean kill on the first army. I don't even go in and fight it. There is no point. I lose a whole unit of mercenary X-men because, when you auto-resolve, things like that happen. The second army decides to run, but it has got nowhere to run. It's still within our movement range. And although it's just beyond the shadow, we are going to move forward carefully. There are a lot of swamps here where you can get attrition. And we are going to press the attack. There will be no mercy. Clear advantage on our side, and the Saxons are really going to be pushed to the ends of the earth. So there will be nothing for them. Nothing will be left. They survived the war with the Franks, but they shall not survive the war with the Western Roman Empire. So both of their armies are gone. That means they have one army in the main city of Tulifurdum. This city will continuously make a lot of armies, but we will have to counter that. We now move in to eliminate the Dacians. They are down to one city and one army, which they have chosen to keep outside. The odds are 50-50, so we shall leave this for now and revisit it. But this is fixing the Balkans again, so all Balkan problems will be solved in this episode. And this time the plan is of course going to work. Gepids stumbled into our territory, so this army we will have to clean wipe right off the slate, because we have got a lot of cavalry, and that is a great force multiplier. They do not bring any cavalry. As you can see, a bunch of projectile units which are also force marching. So we move our cavalry forward, 2 of them moving across each flank. The point will be to scare their projectile units to move backward behind the screen of the infantry, and then we are going to take opportunities as and when they present themselves. So one possibility is to move your competency spears and absorb all of these hits, but they have projectiles which can do quite a lot of damage on our competency spear, so it's better that we have cavalry superiority, we use it. Point is to constantly move your cavalry, so as soon as you see that they are getting ready to fire in any direction, you move a cavalry in that direction while keeping yourself far away from the infantry line. This way they are unable to fire their projectiles, and here you can see an opportunity. On the left flank, our scout equities will go in. One of our raiders took quite a nice volley. So yeah, the Emperor is going to make sure that they get compensated and get some land. Their widows will be widows of heroes. So this army is going to be made to pay for that one volley that they dared to do with us. So I also move our projectiles forward. Our horses are continuing to sow chaos. We are doing charges as and when we see fit, while 3 horses are going to cause chaos. 1 horse is going to try and make a charge. So there we can see the archer is about to attack, so we move scout equities forward. The scout equities and the raider, which were getting entangled with the projectile, then with the infantry line, then gets time to make a run for it, because if you get entangled with spears, your cavalry shall really not perform well. So you want to make sure that you move your cavalry in such a way that they are constantly busy. Now, they do not have any cavalry, so we have got complete command of the system and of the entire battlefield, and every unit of slinger that we make and force them to run will be mopped up. So there shall not be any survivors. They will be made to pay. So 1 unit of their Germanic levy got out of position from their big line of infantry, so I immediately did a hammer and anvil charge. So there you can see those units are about to break while my horses get away. On the near flank over here, you can clearly see that I have freedom of movement, a lot more freedom of movement, because the projectiles have been pushed onto the far flank. So the cavalry which had ran away is coming back to do harassment on the farther flank, while on the nearer flank we are doing hammer and anvils as and when we see fit. So this is being opportunistic to the max. Some of these horses will not make it, but that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Right. So our projectile units have moved in far closer. We are continuing to do charges on their projectiles, while any unit which is needlessly in range is moved outwards. I'm really having a lot of respect for their slingers over here, because slingers against these cotton shirt wearing cavalry is pretty devastating. The archers do a lot less damage and they don't go on fire damage. Also, archers I can scare away much faster, because the slingers have lesser range. They trigger their skirmish ability further later, and they have a shorter reload time, so they would be able to do a volley much more often and much more devastating than their arrows. So our slingers are returning answer for the horses brothers which have fallen in the fight, and our levis amateur are a bit out of range. If they move forward, then they are going to get hit by their slingers, so I only move them forward to entice their projectiles while I pull back that levis amateur, while the levis amateur on the near flank on the left hand side is continuing to fire. So that's how I make the enemy busy, but I just gave them false promises and false opportunities. So our horses are going to take a bit of a rest. But now what we are seeing is that a gap is developing between their infantry line, which is advancing, and their other infantry line, which is trying to guard the general. So there is a clear gap which I can now go in and exploit. So I'm moving the projectiles back in a phase-wise manner for this precise reason, to make a division between their ranks, and as soon as I see opportunities, like right now, my horses are going to go in. It's a pity that the horses got battered pretty badly, but other than that, there is nothing that we can do about it. We will just have to make sure that we are able to hold and make these charges happen. As you can see, the movement of the horses are to, one, shepherd them away from the lines, and as soon as they are away, I make sure that I don't do a charge if I don't absolutely need to, whereas I can bring those weak... Okay, the weak one ran away, never mind. So another horse unit is moving in to do an attack. Our projectiles are continuing to do their blessed work of donating their projectiles. Meanwhile, we are now going to form up a line between these two tree lines. The generals are going to be nearby to provide buffs. I am going to have quality superiority in terms of infantry, absolutely. These Germanic levies are not going to be able to pass across cohorts and combatants lines. Our projectiles are continuing to fire. They got caught up momentarily, but I was able to pull them back. And as soon as units are fleeing, I'm still going to make sure that I have enough horses in the field to be able to go and do a mop-up. Nobody leaves these fields. My horses had a very bad day, so all of their infantry is going to have a very, very bad day. They are going to pay for this. This is not going to be for anything. The Balkans are going to get fixed in the most heavy-handed, unmerciful manner, heartless manner as possible. Random lines on borders drawn so that all ethnic groups are going to be on other side with stupid enclaves everywhere, and then blame it on the natives when they complain. Right. Our projectiles are done. One of them is done. One more of our horse units ran away. Our cohorts donated quite a lot of their projectiles, and therefore that does a lot of damage to them. Meanwhile, our generals are going to move into a nice position where they can protect our one unit of Levis Amature, which still has ammunition. Our archers are continuing, our cavalry is continuing to do damage. Meanwhile, we have caught their entire flank, which has come to attack our infantry, and we are now going to swing our Levis Amature to slowly chew up this unit, which is now fighting with our infantry. Our infantry line will easily hold. That's why I love to play as the Western Roman Empire. Unlike the Sassanid Empire, which gets good spear lines way late, and often you are stuck with say Armenian spears, which are okay unit, but what is terrible is that no matter how much you progress, you are stuck with a bunch of really terrible pagan bands as your main line in the city garrison, city and town garrison. And pagan bands are units I really dislike because they bring pitchforks to fight. These peasants are really not worthy of mention. Although en masse they can humiliate even Western Rome or Eastern Rome. Our projectiles are continuing to do work. Our cavalry has their work cut out for them. They are all half strength, and they have to fight with the projectiles, and they have to make sure that nobody escapes. So I have two cavalry on either side so that I am able to pick up stragglers from either ends. The general is on a mission and trying to catch up to our cavalry. I'm sure he won't be able to do that. Our cohorts, which are about to get charged in the back, are going to turn around and do a charge. Our generals are now being pushed into the danger zone, but we shall prevail. Our projectiles are done firing, so I just move them closer to our main line so that the numbers are on the side, and that gives a moral buff. Our generals are buffing our forces and debuffing them. We already did a hammer and anvil on one of the Germanic levy, which is breaking right now. A cohorts caught it, and the raiders also did an attack. Our scout equities are swooping in. Beautiful force multiplier, and they're going to take up position, looking for opportunities. So as soon as they see some unit is about to rout, is when we shall go in and we shall give a very nice hammer and anvil. I'm going to move the general back because this battle is going quite well. This army will have one turn to train whatever troops it needs, because I'm not going to go beyond the province of Pannonia in this turn. So it will have one turn. Pannonia is of course a garrison state, so it's filled with lots of barracks and rally fields and etc. So I am able to train more than 3 units. So I'm able to train up to 6 units in one army at one time. So I will be able to make sure that the 2 armies which are going to get left back in Savaria and in Sopinai do have enough troops in case they get jumped by the Huns which are nearby. But this army is going to be transformed into an offensive army. So I'm going to give it fresh cavalry, fresh projectiles. I'll balance out what the needs are, and then that army is going to push forward and is going to go and destroy the Gepids. But probably that will be for later. So a little bit of teaser. So that is how I'm not so worried that we lost a bit of cavalry, because I have means of making cavalry, and this early on scout equities are more than enough to take out all of the things that the enemy can bring. Of course, we will use tactics, not just the strategy. So if we are fighting tough units, for example, like Germanic horses, then we will use flank attacks, etc. to prevail. Where our cavalry, our scout equities does not stand a quality or a quantity advantage, we shall use the local tactics to make sure that we carry the day. There we got the victory. The entire line ran. We will do the mop up. Nobody shall run. So I see 162 people ran, so that's a bit worrisome. Anything more than 100, then that army survives. So we'll have to see on the battlefield what happens. Right, clean kill. So this army shall be completely gone from the campaign map. There you can see the Huns are parked near to Savaria Sopinei axis, further beyond our border. So that army will probably try to do shenanigans with us, but we have 3 armies for 3 provinces in the Balkans. So one army which got mauled goes back to Sopinei to heal. This army with weak units of cavalry will disband them, because no point paying upkeep. I will join up the infantry, and I will have to train up cavalry and make sure that the others also have a requisite amount of troops so that they can fight against the Huns. If I'm doing a city battle with that half stack of Huns, I'm really not that worried, because I have 2 armies nearby, and also going by the last time this is a similar army, they probably won't pull an attack, and I will be able to use 2 armies against one of half stack of the Huns. Right, time to go and end world hunger, and that is to destroy the Dacians. So this is the layout of the city. There are several entrances to this city, and they have a very strong garrison, which is a tier 2 garrison, and that is not to be joked at, because that is a Roman garrison. So I will be matched. Best case, I'll be matched with my units. Worst case scenario, I would have to use tactics and get local advantages. This kind of city has guard towers which are placed in this direction, in these places with their range roughly indicated. This gives a tremendous advantage to us in that one half of the city is completely undefended by towers. So that is where we shall have to deploy and fight. Because there is no point when you are going into urban warfare to get under towers where you are going to get constantly shot at. Your entire battlefield plan will rest on never coming under the fire of the towers. The Dacians are going to move reinforcements. So very strong reinforcements are going to come in from the left, at the bottom left as indicated, and there will be a disconnect between when the garrison fights and when this reinforcement fights. So if the reinforcements remains inside the city and this great army comes and reinforces the garrison, we are done. We won't be able to crack this tough nut. What we would have to do is present an opportunity to the enemy. So that's exactly what I'm going to do. I am going to place my army further away from the towers and in between the vice of the garrison and the incoming army. So that will make the enemy get cocky and it is going to come out. So the garrison is going to come out of the safety of the tower and urban warfare, and the army which is moving in shall see a clear opportunity of beating our troops, and they shall move towards us. But they will move in a differential manner. They will not arrive at the same time. So as soon as the garrison comes, we are going to move forward and we are going to arrest the garrison with our infantry line. Our cavalry shall be placed in the flank to provide any protection against any surprises that the main army brings. Our projectiles are going to swing around and going to hit the garrison from the flank. This is going to be their sword side, so they are going to fire from the right hand side of the enemy. So it is going to be very, very brutal, devastating fire. Next, our cavalry will go and chase up and mop up whatever garrison unit remains. Meanwhile, their main army is now going to arrive. This army will try to go into the city, so we are going to position ourselves beyond the towers, but we are going to arrest their infantry line, and our projectiles are going to swing around, go on to the left side of the enemy, but that is the shield side, so there will be lesser losses, but the fire will be very punishing, so it won't be a picnic. So this entire army is going to crack open while being held by our legios, which are going to fire their own projectiles. They're going to be backed up by pikes, which won't even let this competent Roman army come into melee fighting with our cohort, so they'll be held in place. Meanwhile, our projectiles are going to continue giving merciless fire onto this army. Now, this army which comes in, that is the army which we have to get every man off. So once we have made the garrison run away, our cavalry is going to be freed up. Now it is going to run after the remnant of this army which has come to reinforce, and it is going to make sure nobody leaves from this army. So the garrison, even if there are troops inside which run away from the battlefield, they will get eliminated because they are a city and they are doing the city fight. Meanwhile, the army which came in shall be wiped by our numbers from our projectiles and with our cavalry doing the work. There. So as you can see, the garrison has now moved forward. So I am now moving my projectiles on the right side of the garrison which is now coming in. On the far right, on the top, you can see that their main army is coming in, but this is an infantry heavy army, so it won't be able to catch up and do an attack on the back of our cohorts. Plus, I will have our cavalry positioned in such a way that they are able to intervene on either direction. There are scout equities inside the city, so they can be stopped pretty easily with our Germanic horses. And on the army which is coming in, if they decide to bring the horses around back, because they think that joining the garrison and the main army is going to be advantageous, we will still be able to check the horse units which come in. So now our cohorts are firing. Our army is slightly out of range, so I'm always moving forward carefully so that I don't get under fire from the towers, while I keep an eye out for their cohorts. So I move my projectiles, the foot projectiles, not the mobile projectile, that can still reach more or less, but we are moving in. There you can see the pikes are there, which are stopping their comitatenses from reaching our cohorts. They won't be able to beat cohorts, but if they don't even reach, then I don't even lose people to actual fighting. Our projectiles are going to start murderous fire. As and when the opportunity presents, I am going to put my cohorts into testudo so that they can get protection from friendly fire, which is coming in. A little bit of friendly fire is going to affect quite a lot our own pikes, because our pikes wear cotton shirts, so they are going to get quite a lot of mauling from this friendly fire. But the cohorts will be perfectly fine. If they get a bit of friendly fire, they are in testudo, there shall be not that much damage. There you can see the fire is continuing. They are now getting fired from the sword side and also from the back. There goes fire, outgoing fire, and that army, which was very competent, and if it just sat inside that city, I would not be able to go in and take this. So yeah, make the AI cocky and make sure that they make mistakes, and it's better to thrive on the mistakes of your enemy than to thrive upon the glories of your good decision. Whichever cohorts can are going to go into testudo to save themselves from friendly fire. Our leves amaturae are moving in highly eager. They haven't got a single kill in, while our slingers and our archer units and our horse archers are doing tremendous number of kills, so they also want a piece of the pie, and now they go in and start firing. This is close range, hitting them in the back. This is a massacre. This is a massacre. The Dacians are going to not remember this because they shall get eliminated, but this is just murderous fire. Look at that legio wavering. They lost like 20 people within one volley. Right. So we'll have to act a little bit quicker, so that's why I am using a lot of projectiles to solve the problem very quickly. Because the other army is moving forward and their horse unit, I can't see it anymore, so it has probably gone inside the city and it is going to emerge from the other side. So I have to make sure that this work is finished. So this is the last unit of legios of theirs, so I'm going to start now moving my projectile units, except the leves amaturae, which is going to make this last unit of cohorts dissolve. And these are similar cohorts as our cohorts, so these are both very, very competent units. So firing done, the next army has come close. We have now going to set up another cul-de-sac the same way as we did for the previous turn, and now we are going to start firing on the second. Our horses are now moved on full alert, as I can see that their cohorts has been spotted, and it is on this flank, so I can bring all of my cavalry to one side, because I know for sure that I won't get hammered and anviled from the backside, because there is no scout equities in the city. Their horses are coming in for a charge against our cohorts and a pike line, so that is very, very stupid of them, and yeah, they got punished immediately for that. They just bounced off of that with almost no damage to us. Our projectiles will now start hammering. They are trying to go for our cavalry, so as soon as they see an enticing unit which they can win against, they are going to go for that, and our project is going to punish that particular unit. We are not going to go for mop-up of the garrison because one, I don't need to, because nobody from this fight is going to survive if I win this battle. But on this side with the main army, that is, of course, it has to be mopped up absolutely down to the last man. No mercy shall be shown. These Dacians have been a headache for us since forever. They could have jumped at us Domavia, which they did. They jumped up in near Sirmium, and that wasted time while the Huns were there. This is enough. The line has been drawn, and they shall end their pathetic history today. We are then going to move, and the other two cities in that province where the Dacians come, that is not in Roman hands. So that is not in Eastern Roman hands. That is therefore completely legitimate target to be targeted for raising. I think that's the province of Serdica, and that is a really terrible province. When you play as the Eastern Roman Empire, if you play as the Eastern Roman Empire, it's a terrible province. You can never make money out of it. It doesn't have any good resources. It's just a gigantic pain province. On top of that, what you have is that every province that you hold increases the corruption. So it, one, does not give you any money. Second, it increases your corruption. So you lose money that way. As Eastern Rome, it really doesn't add much because Eastern Rome can make an obscene amount of money. As Eastern Rome, I really kid you not, I was making sometimes like 20 million gold per turn. 20 million, I'm not misspeaking. It's when I've had plays with the Eastern Roman Empire where I make 62 billion gold, 62 billion, to the point that's when the counter for the gold for Attila dies. So that resets to zero. So I made so much money as the Eastern Roman Empire that the counter reset to zero. It said that I'm making 0 gold, my troops started taking attrition, and then again the next turn I was making 62 million or something. So then of course the money and the attrition came back, but that is the amount of money that you can legitimately make as the Eastern Roman Empire. The economy is broken, it's completely broken. Of course, when people play Eastern Rome, they don't do this is total war, they don't stop trading, so you can much quicker get a lot of this big numbers. But when you are playing on legendary difficulty, then yeah, that's not easy to do. If you are making 2000 gold per turn while you're not spending any money fighting rebellions non-stop, that is how real men fight. And that is when Eastern Rome is not easy. When some people go and make these Spipping Brave goes and makes a nice video, it's an enjoyable video, but then you're playing on easy, you are making sure that you're not fighting any wars, you pay off everybody else, then of course you can go and get unlimited money. But playing Total War, going to unlimited money as Eastern Rome does take a lot of effort, and if you have to do it without loss, it's not been done. So even Total War Cat, I have not found it on his channel that he has attempted this is Total War without any loss with the Eastern Roman. I don't think any human being has ever done it. It does not exist on YouTube. I couldn't find it. If it's in some other language, please let me know. I tried to look on Cat's channel, I couldn't find it. Could be behind a membership wall, which I'm unaware of, but I didn't see it. Right, so the main army is now cracking, and that is just what we are waiting for. Their cavalry gave us quite a bit of a beating. One single unit did manage to pull off a charge, which is uncalled for, I think. Their pikes are dilly-dallying, they don't know what to do, which direction to go for, and therefore I will make the decisions for them. I move my pikes forward to arrest the pikes, and then I shall do an hammer and anvil with my horse archers, because that's the nearest troops that I have. Their general has been held in place by our one of our legios, and our projectiles are going ham on the back of that general. So that general unit is going to fold rather quickly, and it's losing decisively, so there is no chance. Last few of their competency spears are getting folded up. Their general is dead. Now we should see the rout, and we are now going to move our entire army around to face their troops so that I can fight on my terms and not on the AI's terms, so that we don't get caught on the flanks. And this is the last trios of the Dacians. They shall be a headache to us no more. Decisive victory, clean kill. The garrison inside the city, of course, gone, and the city and the non-city army also clear, eliminated. Now, the moment we have all been waiting for. This is the end to all the headaches caused by the Dacians. We remember, and we shall continue to remember, our fallen brothers in Domavia. We shall remember our fallen brothers near Sirmium. But this ends today. The Dacians are going to be eliminated. This has been the Strategic Indian, signing out.